Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Molly Wisniewski of the Upside to Aging, and we're starting our vlog series called Let's Talk Aging. And I have our first featured guest with me today, and I'm so excited to introduce you to Joyce Williams of GrandmaWilliams.com. She is a Yorkshire born retired physiotherapist turned blogger. And she's here today to just talk about her journey through blogging. So, Joyce, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited by this. It's my very first attempt to do a vlog, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. So, could you tell us just a bit of the story behind Grandma Williams, where you came up with the idea?
Right, I will. Yes, well, I moved up to Scotland and I needed to get to know people, and I was wandering around looking for interesting things to do. And I noticed there was a blogging class on, and I had already asked my grandson, what is a blog? Because I didn't actually know what these things were. I'd heard about them. And then I saw this class, it said blogging for beginners. And I thought, oh, I'll go. He couldn't answer the question. He didn't tell me how to get into blogs, but I went to the class and they were absolutely wonderful. I wandered into this class. There's me aged 80. And this class were all 30 or less. Absolutely wonderful. Made me so welcome. Um, but as we got talking, we began to think, how do we actually do a blog? And I had a little go at doing something. But they said, well, you need to develop a voice, a person that is you, a niche. So I thought, well, and they said, we've enjoyed hearing about you and old age. And they found that interesting. I thought, okay. And then they said, well, nobody else much is talking about old age. And I thought, that's right. They're not. That rings a big bell with me. I'm experiencing old age in a way that is very different from what I'm seeing in the media. The media says it's miserable, it's old, it's blah, blah, blah. And I thought, it's not right. All my friends and I, we're having a lovely time. I'm seeing it everywhere when you walk around and watch what's happening in the world. Old people are enjoying life, and they're not, it's not being said. So I decided I would blog in that area, the positive side of old age, with the aim of changing the image of old age, really. That would be what I would do. And then I had to pick a name. So my grandson at some point had, when he was in nursery school, had drawn a lovely little stick figure picture of this old lady. And he'd labelled it Grandma Williams. And I thought, that would do. I'll use that as my sort of logo, and I'll have that as a name. It works.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a great story. Very serendipitous almost.
Oh, yes, I think so. I think that happens in life. You know, the more you look back on life, the more I think little doorways open and crack. And if you go through them, a whole new life starts.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like that in life.
Have you always wanted to be a writer? Was this something that was always kind of in the back of your mind, or?
In some ways, I suppose it was, except it never got to the forefront. I think I had always written in the sense that I'd done a lot of professional writing.
Right.
And after I retired, I went into local history in my town and did a lot of local history pamphlets and leaflets and little booklets for people. So I always enjoyed writing. I had never really thought of writing as something I did. I thought I did local history, if you see what I mean. But really, what I was enjoying partly was the writing.
Right.
Yes, so the answer was yes, I think I've always wanted to write, but I hadn't realised that's what I was actually doing.
Right. Well, that's amazing. I mean, for just having the site up, I guess, like you said, from it's only been about a year and a half, or maybe a little bit longer. But you have such a distinct voice, and I think that really comes across to the reader as I can speak for myself, at least, as I'm reading the pieces, you really get a sense of, I think, who you are, and um, yeah,
I'm glad. Yeah.
no,
I hope so. I was trying to create a character. It is me, but of course, maybe it's just a little bit sharper version of me, but because it has a particular angle it's wanting to talk about.
exactly.
But yes, I think that's right.
Yeah.
You keep a voice, you've got to get a voice, haven't you? And it seemed to work. I enjoyed the voice. It was almost like a creature that was invented, that had been there, but didn't know it had got a shell around it until it came out.
Oh, I love
Rather
that.
lovely, actually. Yes.
Yeah, it really makes you like allows you to be very creative and have fun,
Yes.
and all while I think your mission is so important, and your voice is so needed. So to have that, but then also I don't know, your quick wit that comes out in some of your pieces that just, I don't know, grabs my attention and your reader's attention, obviously, because you have quite a following at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I've enjoyed it very much. And I hadn't actually realised that I had missed writing. But once I started blogging, I thought, I love this. I'd forgotten how much I enjoy playing with words. It's so a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Yes.
So along those lines, what attracted me to your blog was just the honesty of the content and some of the topics that you discuss. Um, I mean, I would even go as far as to say some of them are quite bold in today's,
Yes.
right, today's conversation. I think a lot of people are just slowly coming to, well, let's talk about aging in a real way.
Yes. Yes.
You've just kind of cut through that, and your content is so real and honest. Can you
Oh, thank
tell
you. Yeah.
a bit about how you come up with content? Is it from real life
Well,
experience? Or?
oddly enough, that being in that blogging class was one of the big motive things, because when I heard them talking about what they were blogging about, this young fashion, and in their case, some of them writing about sex and dating.
Mm,
And I said, well, maybe I should write a blog about sex and dating at 80.
right.
And they just fell about their men, their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe. And that made me realize that that actually needed to be said,
Yeah.
that the younger generation could not see that we're still human,
Oh,
that we're no different from them. And I thought that needs to be said.
that's
And I took a deep breath and decided to say it. Then once I'd put my toe in the water, as it were, that was easy then after that. Because it's really been a popular blog, the very first one I did on sex at 80.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's
It's
actually
been
one of the
lovely.
first ones that I came across was that one.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it's not out there. It's not mainstream, and it should be. It should be a topic that everybody should be able to talk about. So for you,
Indeed.
yeah,
Because it's everywhere and you don't see it. If you don't think it exists, you don't see it. But the reality is, if you walk down the street, any street almost, and you see who's holding hands, it will be old couples.
right,
You'll see them with their arms around each other. They'll be holding hands. You'll see him stroking her neck.
right,
And they're 70. Yeah.
right,
And so many happy older couples.
yeah,
They've got past through it all. They've made it. They've got together, and they've almost rediscovered each other. It's
yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
Oh, I love
They've
that.
got to the bit where looks don't matter. I love you. You know, that is the glory of it. It's
Yeah,
just so nice to see once you've
that
spotted
voice.
it. Yeah.
How have
I've got
you found that your topics are influencing the conversation on aging?
I don't know whether they are or they aren't. I hope they are. I get the feeling from a lot of the response I've had that they have changed people's ideas. That a lot of people have suddenly opened their eyes and thought, yes, of course, we
Right,
can write or talk or think this way.
right,
Um, I've been quite reassured to find so. Um, I think what's been interesting for me is that I look at life, I'm a physiotherapist, and I look at life very logically, because we do. You know, we set out to find problems, solve problems, get ways through problems, and we're therefore very straightforward and honest about this is the problem, what should we do about it? So once I've begun to spot these ageism problems, I began to sort of tackle them, as it were, and say, well, then why don't we do this, or this ought to be done. The blog I did this week was about swimming pools.
yeah,
I
that's
because it gets me so cross. I want to go swimming and I can't get in the swimming pool because the steps down into the pool don't have a handrail. Or it's one of those funny ladders, and I can't climb down a ladder at my age. I certainly can't climb back up a ladder, and I can't get in a pool.
Right.
Unless they put me in a hoist, and I certainly am not of the age where I wish to be put in a hoist.
No.
And they haven't thought it through. And
Right.
it's so simple, but you can't think it through, I don't think, when you're not that age. It only hits you when you're in 70 to 80 that this ought to have been done.
Right.
You don't see it before that.
Right.
And they need to do a lot more consulting with old people. The thing I really want to see changing now is packaging. There's so much problem with getting into packages when you're old. Your hands are stiffer and not as strong. And trying to open a package, you could starve sometimes before you could ever open a package.
Right.
And I think that's just not thought through.
That's amazing. I think you raise an excellent point, because in design too, I think if you design products that are age friendly,
Yes,
you're designing for everyone. You're not just designing for this one population. I think that they benefit the entire community, and allow for community, right? So if
yes.
you did
Houses
right,
need to be designed to be age friendly, because for all of us, we've all got aging relatives. We are going to get old. And as silly some of the things that are not done in houses that ought to be automatically, like all bathrooms should be age friendly, because anybody can use it then. But the modern bathroom designs just drive me mad. These stupid baths on little legs standing in the middle of a room that I think almost anybody except an Olympic hurdler can get in or out of. It's just a silly fashion, which ought to be deemed to be stupid, which people should laugh at.
right.
It should be understood that is silly.
Yeah.
And if we can get that image over, great, let's have practicality, beauty, elegance, yes, but let's be practical. Everybody needs to be able to use this.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
Yes.
it's great that and I might be wrong about this, but this has been a long held problem. I think we've all designed for young adults.
Yes, they are the designers.
Right. Those are, yes.
Their job. And they design for themselves.
Right. And
they make a little bit of gesture to slightly older people, but they certainly don't know what it's like to be 70 or 80. And yet the population of people 70 to 80 is growing rapidly. They're going to be a new market. They need to get their heads around this new market.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. But I think it takes voices like your own to say, hey, this is silly. Like you are.
Yes.
This is silly. Why are you doing this? And
well, they're not thinking market in the same way. They've discounted us as market, but in fact, a lot of the older people are the ones at the moment that are the market for a lot of things, and they really have to think a little bit harder about it. Certainly the clothes market and fashion market needs rethinking.
I feel you should be sitting in on those meetings.
I'd love to be. Yes.
I bet.
I think the main thing I wanted to do, and still want to do, and I'm not sure I've done it yet, is to change the image of old age. This very sad, miserable image of decline is not helpful to anyone, because it's not like that. It's a sort of plateau where little bits and pieces drop off the edges of you, of course. But you're still basically you're still, and it's only in the last year or so that most people go seriously downhill. So you can have a whole period from 65 up to 85. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Get a bit afraid at the edges, but life's still great. You're still you're still doing what you want to do. You're still enjoying your friends. You're still enjoying your hobbies. You're having to drop some, but you find some more. And it's great. And that image of decline and associated with old hair, grey hair and wrinkles is so sad. One of my blogs, I told the story of an old lady who'd been admitted to hospital with bronchitis and a high fever. And she was wandering a bit in her head and wanting to climb out of bed, and was talking about her dolls. And this, the young houseman said to her daughter, I think your mother's got Alzheimer's, she's get like that. And the daughter said, well, that's very strange if it's come on so quickly. Last week she was giving lectures to the public. And he said she had to tell him that what she lectured on was dolls.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Right?
Oh,
Apple dolls.
right.
And that she went out 2 and 3 nights a week giving public lectures on her collection of apple dolls, and that she'd actually got one due this week and was fretting about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Look at that. But it's just the idea that people are
But the young houseman just saw a grey, confused old lady who was ill. Yes. And just did not know that she was really quite a local figure in terms of being well known for her lectures.
Right.
Yeah. And so many of them can't see past the grey hair and wrinkles.
It's so true. You wrote a piece, it was called Hips, Strokes, and Dips.
Yes.
Scary Tales from the Past. And I loved this article because, and I think it's very similar to the one you just mentioned. You have a way of putting perspective to these stereotypes. In this piece, you broke it out into 3 sections, and in the first section on broken hips, you talk about how 50, 60 years ago, sure, when you broke a hip, you were out for 10 weeks. You had traction weights, right? I think you mentioned.
Yes, that's right.
And
all sorts of attempts to mend it, but they were very poor results at that time. Dreadful results.
But I think our image is still of that when we see those injuries, especially in older adults, because we all fall, every single one of us, from baby. I can't tell you how many times I have fallen, but
no, indeed.
Right. So, but it's just the idea of an older adult that's
it.
Right. And I'll link that article in the bio as well, because I think it's something that everybody should be reading.
It certainly isn't. You adjust to aging. It's surprising how you adjust to it. You start laughing at it. We all joke now about our lost memories. We all joke about the groans we do as we get out of a chair, but they're not serious. They're just, life becomes stupidly funny. And we tease each other with it. But it's not serious. It doesn't matter. We know we're going to die. We've stopped worrying about that. When you're young, I don't want to die. When you're old, you think, maybe I'm ready.
Right.
Now that's a strange thing to say, but you've lived, you've done everything you wanted to do, or you're never going to do some things, but you've got past that, and you're feeling comfortable with yourself in your own skin, and from everything around you in the world that life ends. It always does. Trees die, plants die, we die. And you just get your head around it, and it's just and it makes life richer, because once you've got to that thinking, you feel very calm, and at the same time you feel very interested in every single thing that you do. Every single thing that you see becomes twice as interesting, because you may not see another spring. This might be the last spring you're ever going to see. Yeah. It's so intense. It intensifies the colours of life, being old. That's quite interesting.
It is. What a gift. I don't know, something to look forward to.
Yes.
Sounds wonderful.
There's nothing to be frightened of.
Right.
It really is not. No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. And what looks don't matter when you're old. You think they do, but they don't. People love you for you. You've got to be who you are, and you've got to love them. They love you, and it's got nothing to do with looks at all. Now, it's nice to look nice. It's nice to have a bit of makeup on. It's nice to find a nice dress or whatever you want. But that's not the crucial thing. It's not. No, you've learned that a long time before. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, it is. And if only we could, I don't know, maybe it's experience that teaches you that, but it is. Yeah. It's something that I think everybody strives to do, and it's nice to know that it happens that
Yes,
perspective does
yes,
arrive, you know.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um,
There's far
so
more to it than you think.
yeah.
Yes,
So
that's right.
you mused earlier about your grandson and
Yeah.
how when you first kind of embarked on this idea, you went to him, and I was curious what your friends and family think of the site and the topics that you discuss and the whole gamut.
You know, I think that's a very interesting question because, on the whole, they don't.
Oh,
I don't know whether I'm an embarrassment to them or not, or whether they're proud but don't want to say it, or what. But on the whole, they don't discuss it with me. I've had no comments from them.
get out! Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Yes,
I
I think
love that.
it's quite interesting, really. I
Yeah,
think perhaps, well, I don't know. Let's leave it there, I don't know.
right.
But the reason my grandson didn't know really about blogging was I think it's his generation were into WhatsApp and Instagram and not really into blogging as such.
Right,
So that's why he didn't really know about it.
right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that story though. It's on your about page, and I'll also be linking to your page in the bio for anybody that wants to learn more, because I think it's a great story. That intergenerational, like, what is this? Let's figure this out. Let's figure it out together. You know.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so, where do you see the blog in the next few years? Is
Well, it depends where I am in the next few years, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah,
It's
I
true.
mean, I might not even be here next year, so I have to get on with doing it this year. And really, you can only think one day or a few months at a time when you're 82. You
Mm,
know, what else can you do? Just have to
right.
get on with it. So I think I still don't feel we've changed the image of old age yet, and I want to get that far more positive. This lovely positive feel about it, that people welcome it and don't worry about it, and that awareness to spread much more widely. Um, Among young children, among teenagers, among people your age, so that it gets more comfortable for everybody,
Yeah,
including older people themselves,
right.
because then they're not seeing themselves as labeled. That labeling
Mhm.
bothers me. It bothers me about a lot of things, not just old age, but um, when we use these stereotypical labels on things, it damages. It it really does damage to do it because um, people something gets a bad name and it's stuck. You've got to break through it then because they see the bad bit first before they see the real.
Right.
And we've got to sort of get people very aware that labeling is not a good thing. It's silly.
Yeah.
Then I hope we get some influence on design and fashion. That really does make a shift. That age-friendly housing, places for living, societies, systems, public spaces are all immediately thought of in terms of age-friendly. And if I can ever do anything about getting restaurants to be age-friendly, I would be delighted.
Oh my
They
goodness.
make me so cross. We all love eating out in my generation. Most of us can't do it anymore.
Really?
Yeah, we can't hear.
Why is that? Could you
We're deaf.
Oh, yeah.
We're not actually deaf. We've lost the high tones of hearing, and even hearing aids don't help. And what restaurants have done in the last few years is gone noisier and noisier and noisier. They've taken away tablecloths, they've taken away carpets, they've taken anything that damped down sound has gone.
Right.
And they have metal chairs and everything clatters. They've
Right.
got noisy coffee machines, and you just cannot hear yourself speak. So we can't go out and have a conversation over dinner anymore.
Oh,
And that's so infuriating.
yes, it is. It is.
Yes. And
Because some
they
people,
don't know that that's our problem, why they're losing that market. They just don't understand it. And
yeah,
it could be solved with acoustic paneling. They don't have to put the tablecloths back if they don't want to. They
right,
could solve it with all sorts of acoustic engineering
right.
answers and damp the sound down. It's the high-pitched sounds that crackle so much in your hearing aid. You know?
Yeah.
But
It's
you don't know it until you've lived through it.
it's yeah,
That's
no, it's
where
true.
I'm coming from, is saying you don't understand old age till you've got there, so I'm going to have to tell you.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, I love that though, because that's exactly what needs um, to happen, because we can say it until we're blue in the face that those that are designing and are, you know, I'm early in my career and I'm just going into
mm.
the services, and but still, until you live it and until you are, you know, firsthand experience.
Engaged in conversation with us about it, so you've understood it, and we need to be able to explain it to you. You need to be able to listen and understand it, so we can swap this
It,
information, and it hasn't been done, I
no,
don't think so.
no,
That's where I hope we're going in the future.
yeah,
Swapping information, understanding each other better.
yeah,
Yes,
and
that would be lovely.
I really think you're on the front lines of that, because it's I, just in the year that I've been following you, I've seen your progress, and I've seen the reach that you're getting to, and I think people, you've grabbed people's attention, and that I think that's the first step in moving forward, is having someone like you who isn't afraid to speak about it, isn't afraid to um, be real, and 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 move forward. And I think we just all need to listen. We really just all need to listen. And I can't thank you enough for building a platform
Yeah.
that allows that.
And the thing you need to remember, of course, is that my old age is your old age. You will get old too. So therefore, the better you can make old age, the better for you too.
It's true. It's simple, really. I mean,
Simple.
yeah, it is. It's
It's
a,
our old age, everybody. Let's
yeah,
get it right.
exactly. I think we focus so much on the generation behind us. Um, all that focus and making sure that we ensure that our youth is being brought up, um, that we don't turn around, and it's really turning around that's going to allow those younger generations to do it successfully. And
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Enjoy doing it too.
Right,
Yes,
right,
yes.
yes.
Oh, well,
um,
it's been lovely to talk to you.
yes, yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us, and I'm so excited. I know so many people are going to just benefit from the work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. So
Lovely to do it, and I'm so it's just so much fun.
yeah, yes.
Yes.
So
Okay. Thank you
so
very much for asking me. It's been wonderful.
oh, of course, of course. So what I'll do is, I've mentioned I will
Yeah.
be putting your link to your website down below in the bio, so people can find you there. And hopefully they go and find your site and follow along, and just enjoy the wild ride that you're taking us all on.